Hi, and thank you for tuning in to the Completely Me podcast with Dr. Justine Green. Today we have two really amazing and exciting guests with us. I've known them for a really long time. Our first guest is Jill Hurley. She is a mom of four, an educator, paraprofessional, and a recent grandma. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having us. We're really excited.
It has been so exciting to have you because ever since I made and decided on having a podcast, I knew you guys were going to be on this. And so this is Jill Hurley, and her daughter is Emme or Emersyn, and she is our book number 2 in the Completely Me series. So we have connected for a really long time, and we actually met through one of your daughters.
Yes, my daughter Brianne.
Yes, she was our nanny for years. She really was amazing, and she connected us, and it's been a lifelong friendship now.
It was a good connection. I think we did well with that.
We did. So, do you want to talk to me about your children and your family?
So my family is quite diverse. I have the 2 oldest girls are biological, but then I did adopt 2 children when my youngest of my oldest was 16. Emersyn was the first we adopted. She was born 9 weeks early. And then Grayson was the second. He was born 4 weeks early, and both were born, unfortunately, addicted to drugs, and which caused a lot of problems physically and with them. And we'll talk more about Emerson's with that early birth of hers.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
So, how did you know you wanted to adopt, and what was that experience like?
My husband always wanted more children. After my oldest one, I wasn't able to have any more, so we kind of just thought our family would always only be the 2. But then a family member, unfortunately, needed us to take their baby, so we, with open arms, decided we were going to take this 9-week preemie into our home.
How far in advance did you know that you were going to be taking on this child?
Well, about 6 weeks before she was born. She was due in May, and we found out the end of January that we were possibly going to get her. And she was born in March. So not a long time.
That's a quick turnaround time for
very
mentally
quick.
preparing and even physically preparing, like making a nursery, making sure you have all of those
things. And it was
things.
Still all up in the air until she was born. We didn't even know at that moment whether or not we would be the ones bringing her home.
Really?
Yeah.
Were there other families trying to?
Because of state involvement and stuff like that, we didn't know what the full outcome would be. We got her at 11 days old.
So do you want to talk a little bit about her birth experience, if you're okay with that?
That's fine. She unfortunately did have a very traumatic birth experience. She was taken emergency C-section 9 weeks at 31 weeks, 3 days gestation. So she was born 9 weeks early. She was born addicted to multiple different substances. She was lack of oxygen at birth. So she was on a respirator for 3 days and on supplemental oxygen until she was 2 weeks old.
Wow.
Yeah, so a lot of that is contributing to the fact of her having the cerebral palsy.
So when did you know that she had CP?
I started suspecting it at about 5 months old when she wasn't rolling over yet. She was taking her left hand and she was curling her left hand and arm in and holding it in a position that I had seen because I have worked with children with cerebral palsy. My husband has a cousin with it. I had seen that position before. And I was like, there's something going on with this baby. But it took us a long time to actually get her tested because we had to go through the state to get permission for everything. So,
that's interesting.
Yeah, so we had to have a judge's permission to have an MRI done. We had to have a judge's permission to have specialists. It was a lot of work, but I knew very early on that she had it.
Okay, and what are some actions after the state approved you and she was tested?
The first thing to get the actual diagnosis, we started her in physical therapy when she was 6 months old. That was an easy, just a pediatric visit that said, okay, we have the suspicion, we can start that. That was an easy, we didn't need the judge's permission for that. But it took almost a year for us, once she was adopted at a year old, that we find that I didn't have to have as much permissions. Once she was adopted, I could do what I needed to do to get her the services she needed. And that's, we had the MRIs, they found multiple, what they call white spots on her brain, kind of like dead tissue. And they said that is where the lack of oxygen at her birth caused that, which then in turn causes cerebral palsy.
Did they warn you or suspect that something like this could be possible due to her birth?
No. The hospital really didn't say anything. They did a lot of testing like on her vision and stuff like that before she was released from the NICU, but they never told
hinted or suspected.
No, they said learning disabilities would be a problem for her, but they never said anything about the possibility with the lack of oxygen at birth.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's kind of a shock.
That is shocking.
Yeah.
But also, I think it's very interesting about your son, too. Do you want to talk about Grayson?
Grayson was also born, we suspect, about 4 weeks early. Gestational mother did not have any prenatal care, so we weren't real sure.
Wait, none?
None.
Not even like seeing a doctor?
No, neither of the kids had prenatal care. Neither of the birth mothers had prenatal care with either of the babies.
Which is very important.
Yes, it is.
See a doctor.
Yeah, a lot of the things.
Regularly visit a doctor.
And it was because they both born addicted, neonatally exposed.
Not from the same parent.
No, different mothers.
How did you find this mother, or how did she find you?
My friend, one of my very good friends in Michigan, was a placement officer for the Department of Health and Human Services.
Okay.
And she knew that I was already a foster mother. We had to get our foster license to bring Emersyn home. So I already had my foster license. She's like, hey, I have a little boy. We know that he's going to be adoptable. He is born addicted. Not a lot of foster parents will take addicted babies. So she's like, would you be interested in helping us and take him? And I'm like, absolutely, of course. And
so was this going to be a foster moment, or were you going in with the intention of like?
We pretty much knew that he was going to be adoptable, so we went in. We got placed with him. He was 3 days old. He spent 25 days in the NICU in our hometown. So we knew going in pretty much as long as a father didn't step forward. That was the only bridge we had to cross with him, was a father stepping forward.
Did they have a specific amount of time for that to happen?
Grayson's adoption took a little bit longer than Emerson's because we had to go through DNA testing with multiple suspected fathers. They had to have time to be able to find out whether or not they wanted to take responsibility of him or not. So he took a little bit longer than Emersyn did.
So when did you get his autism spectrum diagnosis?
Again, because I've done special education for so many years, I also knew the signs and of autism, and he never made eye contact. He didn't want to be held as a baby. He didn't like that personal connection. He just wanted to be left alone. So at about, I would say, 6-7 months old, I brought it to the pediatrician's attention.
That's pretty early.
I'm like, he won't look at you. He won't look you in the eye. He won't speak.
Did he respond to?
He didn't respond to anything. Okay. At that point, he was crawling. He would crawl over and bang his head into walls. He just was very much different than the babies I had already had and other foster children I had had. And I'm like, I suspect, again, though, it was the whole going through the court system to get everything tested. He didn't speak until he was like 15 months old. He never said mama, dada.
Really?
No, didn't.
And flash forward, we were just catching up, and he is reading above his grade level.
Yeah, he is.
Taking care of his niece.
His
Wait,
niece.
Oh my
his niece, yeah.
I had to just think about that.
He
is 7 years old, taking care of his niece, and you said he's just a gentle little boy, except for with his sister Emme.
Yeah, Emersyn and him battle it out, but it's because I think that's
siblings.
Just their release.
Siblings do that.
Siblings,
it's totally
it's their
common.
release, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to give us an update on them, your family, anything you want to talk about?
Well, Emersyn just took her 3rd grade state of Florida FAST test, and she made it to grade level for her testing. So her cognitive delays are starting to improve. She still does OT and PT. She doesn't do PT through the school anymore. They released her. She does do private PT still. She's getting an adaptive bike. They fit her for an adaptive bike at physical therapy.
That's exciting.
Yeah. Unfortunately, with her balance and stuff, she can't ride a regular 2-wheeler. She may never be able to. But she's accepted the fact that she does have some limitations, and she's working within them.
But I know that Emersyn has been going through PT and OT. You sent me pictures and videos of her with Cass. As early as what? A year old?
About a year and a half old. I think she got her
So
first
what
class.
has her PT and orthopedic journey been like?
Long. Very long. She has basically been in PT her entire life. She didn't take her first steps till she was almost 18 months old. She's had serial casting twice where they casted both legs to try to, she has high tone, so she walks on her tiptoes. So they put Jenga blocks, believe it or not, under her feet and adjusted it. They adjusted it, like they put it at her toe and they moved it backwards to force her heel.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they moved the position of her foot.
And then casted it there.
They cast it. She had to have it switched every week. And every week they would move that Jenga block a little bit so that she would walk in a different position to force those heels down. It was the most bizarre thing I'd ever seen.
Did you see positive outcomes from that?
I did. It lasted a while, but unfortunately when we moved from Michigan to here, it took us a long time to get a doctor to re-prescribe all the stuff she needed. So she's back in the leg braces and stuff like that now because she doesn't have that strength. And she's grown 6 inches in the last year.
Yeah, she shot right up.
Yeah, that has a big factor on her tiptoeing. If she grows, her muscle can't grow as fast as her bones. They don't stretch. They don't elongate like her bones do. So whenever she has a major growth spurt, she's straight up on those tiptoes.
And I think that you said before that it's also painful for her when that happens.
Yeah, she does. She gets leg cramps. She had a service dog, unfortunately. He passed away, and he knew exactly when to lay on her legs and to help her stretch out. So that, it's hard with a 9-year-old to tell them, you have to do these things. They just want to be a 9-year-old. They just want to play, and they don't like to have a limitation. So she's gotten to where she knows now. She did not want a wheelchair. Absolutely refused a wheelchair for years. Like if we went to Disney, I was pushing her still a year ago in a stroller. And she's too big. Her legs are too long. She's just too big.
Do you think it's that like stigma associated?
It was. She was afraid people were going to stare at her. She was afraid people were going to laugh at her. They were going to ask, why is she in a wheelchair? And I'm like, well, they're going to ask more, why is a 9-year-old in a stroller?
Yeah.
So we did finally get her to use a wheelchair for the first time in March. And she decided...
That's a really hard conversation to have with a child.
It is, because they want to be a normal kid. She has had to use it once at school this year because she had a growth spurt again, and she couldn't walk. And she was just in so much pain. She was crawling through the house. And I'm like, you're going to have to use your chair for school. And she's like, I don't want to. People are going to laugh at me. I'm like, no, they won't. I promise you they won't. And the kids didn't. The kids wanted to push her around in the chair. The kids, wanted to ride on her chair.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. It was like this new cool thing that nobody else in the class had. They'd seen her other adaptations in this classroom, but that was new.
I feel like because Emersyn has been so open with her CP, with the leg braces, the fact that she has a book written about her, I think that maybe that could have potentially helped to open up that door of understanding that she may need accommodations and that it changes based on her body changing.
And that's what we tell her, and that's what she then relays to classmates and teachers. I can't do that because I know what my limits are now. And I told her she has to be her own voice. I can't always be her voice. I'm not going to be with her for everything. So she has to learn to speak up for herself. And
become your own advocate.
Exactly.
Sticking up for yourself. And honestly, I really take time to tell people with disabilities or children with disabilities that when people ask questions or point something out about you being different, that although it may sting, use it as a teachable moment. That the more you use it as a teachable moment, the more people will understand. And if you take that as a time to grow and expand knowledge about these differences, that's how we can become better and more acceptable as a society. Is having these open conversations of, hey, I can't actually do that because I'm in a wheelchair because of this. Yeah. But I'll be back walking in a few weeks.
Exactly. We've got to take the stigma out of a disability. It's got to be more normalized. Everybody's different. everybody's got something that's different about them, and it shouldn't be something that's always.
It should be celebrated.
It should be
I
celebrated.
say this all the time.
Yeah.
Imagine if we were all the same. How
boring.
boring. I know. I say
So
that
bad.
all the time because it's true.
I would argue
And
that.
Dr. Seuss has said it. There's no one that's youer than you.
Mm-hmm.
And we should be celebrating our differences, and it's all about just talking about them. And speaking of differences, I know that you work in a school and you
Yes.
are a paraprofessional.
I
Do you
am.
want to talk about that?
I do work. I've worked in multiple different special education classrooms. Currently, I'm in an emotional behavioral disorders classroom.
Wow.
So I have students that have autism. I have students that have other learning and behavioral disabilities. I've worked with students with cerebral palsy, hearing impairments, visual impairments. And it's been nice to be able to use what I know from home and what I know from school and meld them into my whole life. And I really enjoy working with the children that I work with.
It's very rewarding
It
to
is.
work with children and families with disabilities.
It is because everything that they do, every gain that they make is just like a cause for a huge celebration.
I love that.
Yeah. Everything, there's no feat that's too hard. We can get through it. We can figure it a way. We may have adapting something, but we'll figure out a way to get you to be the best you.
I love that you also talked about adapting. You may have to adapt, but you could do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important lesson as well.
A physical therapist told me that once with Emersyn. She may not run the way somebody else is going to run, but she'll run the way she's going to run. And I said, that makes sense. She's going to do things the way she's going to do them, and we can't compare her to everybody else. She's her. She's her own person. I was like, oh, I like that.
That's really special.
It was very special. She was very sweet.
Everyone does things their own way, in their own time, with their own abilities, and I think that that's really important as well. So we're going to switch you out with your daughter, and we are going to welcome Emersyn. This is one of my good friends, Emme. We've known each other for a long time, and I am so happy to have you on as my guest. If you don't recognize her, then you need to get your copy of Completely Emme. And she is my friend right here on the back cover. And you actually helped me tell your story. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
I remember I got a video of you saying all of the different things you would say to someone about what it's called, right? And how do you pronounce it?
I pronounce it cerebral palsy.
Cerebral palsy. And when I was asking you, how do you explain to someone about cerebral palsy? Your response back then was that you can't go any faster, right? That you would fall down right on your face. Do you remember that video? That was so cute. How would you explain it today?
I would explain it the same as I did because I'm pretty much of an awkward person. I don't really understand what people are saying sometimes. So I just go with the old thing I used to say.
I think that's always helpful. You keep it all the same, nice and easy. And do you actually use Completely Emme?
I really like sharing my book to people because I feel like some people just need a little bit of help in their life, and if they read the book, they might feel a little bit better.
I think you said that beautifully, and that's true. I do think a lot of people need help and to help understand that everyone's different, and especially it kind of gives them an introduction to CP, right? So I heard, I think it was maybe last year or the year before, everything's flying by, it's so fast, but that there was I think it was a boy that was not so kind to you. And I think you took the opportunity to hand him a book of Completely Me and said, I think you need to learn. Did that help? Did he understand after that?
Well, he didn't understand fully, but he understood the most.
So did you guys become maybe friends, or were they more kind to you?
They were not as mean as before, but they weren't fully they would say a little bit. They would say something rude sometimes, but I've learned that I've come to the conclusion that I don't really care what people say. I'll just say okay, and then I'll just walk away.
You know what? You shouldn't care what people say. And I always explain that's the reason why I love butterflies so much. And that butterflies are everywhere because I felt like I was a little caterpillar going through life until I accepted myself. And I said, if I have one ear, who cares? If I wear hearing aids, who cares? I am a cool, kind person who's smart and funny. And so should we keep going? I'm just kidding. But like, if you don't want to be my friend, that's on you. Like, you're the one missing out because I'm a good friend. And I think that once I realized that I love myself the way I am, and if you want to be my friend, then that's a really cool thing. I feel like I really became a beautiful butterfly, and I accepted myself for who I am. And that took me a really, really long time. That wasn't until my 20s. So for you to be able to sit here at what, 9? Are you 9 now?
Yeah.
9 years old and be able to say, you know what, this is who I am, I think is a really, really special and awesome trait. So, snaps for Emme.
It did take a little bit of time for me to actually know that I'm special, and not a lot of people have a book about themselves.
You know, that's true. You have an awesome book about yourself. And what's even really cool about this, and not just any CP book or any other book about disabilities, is that you really did talk to me. You helped me write this. Your mom helped me write this. It was a joint effort to try to help explain. And I think that we did a really good job. So, how would you explain to people about how they should speak to someone with disabilities or someone with leg braces?
I would say if you just try and be as kind as you can, because I think this world needs a little bit of more kindness.
I think so too. I really do. Can always use more kindness. And it costs nothing to be a kind person.
It really does.
And the whole idea of treat other people the way you want to be treated is so important. So thank you for that. Do you want to talk to us about all your physical therapy?
My physical therapy, it really does help me a lot. I have my physical therapist named Miss Lori. Miss Lori is the best person I could ever ask for that could help me with my legs. She does an excellent job, and she's my favorite person.
That's really nice. So when you went through your growth spurt, what was she able to do?
She was able to make my muscles relaxed, and she was able to loosen them up a little bit.
That's really nice. So how did she do that?
She rolls her hands across my legs, and it does really help a lot because my legs, they are doing much more better than I could ever imagine.
That's really great. Do you still use your leg braces?
When I grow out of them, it's just completely done with them. I still keep them because it's a really good memory. Because if I grow up and I don't need to wear these anymore, I'll have a little bit of memories from it.
Do you want to talk to us about what's sitting right here?
These are my braces. I grew out of them.
So I have a question about your braces. Do you wear them with shoes?
I wear them with shoes and stuff, but it's kind of uncomfortable wearing them with socks because when it's really hot, because I have, at my school, we do, like if we have art for the whole weekend, and then it changes.
Okay.
Well, but if we have PE, we have it for the whole week, and we stretch a lot, and we run a lot, and sometimes I'm not able to participate in the games because it's just too much.
That's interesting. And that might be part of your accommodations, right? The things that school allows you to do to help you. So what else does the school allow you to do, or some of your other accommodations?
They do let me, I get distracted very easily because of my ADHD. I go in a room with no one except of the teacher, and not a lot of kids get to do that. I get to take breaks and stuff, but once again, not a lot of kids are able to do it. My brother, Grayson, he needs a decent amount of them because he's different than us. And he can sometimes get angry, so he'll go in a corner and he'll calm down, and when he's done calming down, he will go back to what he's doing.
I feel like a lot of us could benefit from taking some time to ourselves when we get mad or frustrated. I know that I always need to take a moment to breathe and calm down, because sometimes emotions could just take over and we feel things so intensely, right?
I have to be very careful with my brother because, for an example, if I beat him in a game, he'll get really mad and stuff. So I have to be very careful. I let him win some stuff because, of course, I don't want to get hurt. 'Cause his little hands that he has, they are, if he slaps you, you're going to have a rash for 12 weeks.
Oh, that sounds like almost like a superhero power.
Yes.
His little hands. Well, I hope that doesn't happen to you, but I understand. Maybe sometimes you have to let them win. I do that with my husband sometimes when we play basketball. I get it. He's going to kill me for saying that. But I totally get it.
Yes.
So you actually came to visit me, and you see me often. We do. We try to stay in touch. I'm friendly with your mom and your family. But you came to, when I was at a market, I did like a sensory-based class. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
You came in and you had so much fun, and you sat right there and you got your hands dirty. Isn't it nice to get to play like that?
Yes. It's actually very nice because me and my brother has autism, and I have a little bit of autism in me, and I can sometimes have anger issues, so it's really nice to let my anger out on something that I can actually let my anger out.
Yeah, you know that when it comes to those sensory materials that helps you kind of calm down, like what we were just talking, it's called self-regulation. And those sensory materials, just like in the kits, are really, really helpful to help us like that, from autism to just anger issues to kids who want to play. And I love that you always come and support me. And I want you to know that I will always be here to support you too. I love you.
I love you too.
This was really special having you on here with me.
It was my pleasure.
Do you have anything you want to say? Any shout out or anything you want people to really know about you or CP?
I want to tell everyone that's watching this. I want to tell you guys that you're special, you're beautiful, and you're the most prettiest one in the world. It's okay if you're different. I'm different, and it's a very good thing. It's like it's a superpower. It's okay if you're different.
It should be celebrated, and that was really beautifully said. It's really nice to have you on here, and I thank you again. What a wonderful send-off. I feel like I can't do better than that. So we're going to leave it with the way that Emme just did. Just beautiful. That everyone is special, and remember that. You should be celebrating yourself and all the differences that make you you. Tune in next time for the Completely Me podcast with Dr. Justine Green. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit the like button. To learn more about child development, parenting, and the disabled world, make sure to hit subscribe. Also, Don't forget to sign up for the Completely Me activity kits that your little ones will love. See you again soon.